The Galactic Joke. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, countless civilizations had risen and fallen over billions of years. Among them, the Zarkonian Empire stood as a beacon of advanced technology and cultural superiority. Their sleek ships cruised effortlessly between the stars, their society free from conflict and want. The Zarkonians saw themselves as the pinnacle of evolution, destined to guide lesser species towards enlightenment. It was during one of their routine surveys of primitive worlds that they stumbled upon Earth. Initial scans revealed a planet teeming with life, its dominant species just beginning to take its first tentative steps into space. The Zarkonian observers watched with mild amusement as humans launched crude rockets and satellites, marveling at their own achievements. Kerex, the lead cynobiologist on the survey mission, compiled his report with a mixture of fascination and condescension. These humans, he noted, seem utterly obsessed with the most mundane aspects of their existence. They expend vast resources on trivial pursuits like social media and reality television, while their planet suffers from environmental degradation and social inequality. His colleague, Zira, the cultural analyst, couldn't help but laugh as she reviewed the data. "Look at this, Kerex. They've created entire industries around altering their physical appearance. Imagine being so insecure about your biological form that you'd resort to surgically changing it." The Zarkonian High Council received the report with great interest. It had been centuries since they'd encountered a species so amusingly primitive, yet on the cusp of interstellar travel. They decided that Earth would make an excellent case study in galactic anthropology. Over the next few decades, the Zarkonians observed humanity's progress with growing bemusement. They watched as humans squabbled over resources, waged wars, and fumbled through technological advancements. Each new human achievement was met with patronizing chuckles in the halls of Zarkonian academia. "Did you see?" one scholar would say to another. "The humans think they've made a breakthrough in quantum computing. How quaint. Their most advanced machine is less powerful than our children's toys." The jokes about humanity's perceived backwardness spread throughout Zarkonian society. Comedians incorporated human behaviors into their routines, mimicking their strange customs and exaggerating their flaws for laughs. Even in the highest echelons of Zarkonian government, Earth became a sort of cosmic inside joke. Supreme Leader Vexilor himself once quipped during a state address, "Perhaps we should send the humans a real spaceship. It would be amusing to see them try to reverse engineer it. They'd probably use it as a template for a new line of kitchen appliances." But beneath the laughter and mockery, a few Zarkonian scientists began to notice something curious. Despite their seemingly haphazard approach to progress, humans were advancing at an unprecedented rate. In mere centuries, they had gone from horse-drawn carriages to rudimentary space exploration. Kerex, now a senior researcher, brought his concerns to the High Council. "Esteemed leaders," he began, his tone serious. "While it's true that humans lag far behind us technologically, their rate of advancement is unsettling. If they continue at this pace, they could become a significant presence in the galaxy within a few millennia." His words were met with dismissive waves and chuckles. "A few millennia," scoffed Councillor Drez. "By then, we'll have colonized half the universe. These humans will remain nothing more than an amusing footnote in galactic history." But Kerex couldn't shake his unease. He continued to monitor Earth closely, watching as humans overcame challenge after challenge. They developed cleaner energy sources, made breakthroughs in medicine, and pushed the boundaries of their understanding of the universe. Then came the day that would change everything. Kerex was analyzing routine sensor data when he noticed an anomaly. A surge of energy unlike anything he'd seen before emanated from Earth's solar system. At first, he thought it must be an error in the scanning equipment. But as he double-checked the readings, his heart began to race. This is impossible," he muttered to himself, his feathers bristling with excitement and fear. He immediately sent an urgent message to the High Council, demanding an emergency session. As the council convened, Kerex presented his findings with trembling hands. "Distinguished leaders," he said, his voice quavering, "I regret to inform you that we may have gravely underestimated the humans. Our long-range sensors have detected a massive energy signature consistent with the development of faster-than-light travel." A stunned silence fell over the chamber. The implications were staggering. If humans had indeed cracked the secret of FTL travel, they would no longer be confined to their tiny corner of the galaxy. They could potentially reach Zarkonian space within a matter of years, not millennia. Supreme Leader Vexlor, his usual air of smug superiority replaced by genuine concern, leaned forward. "Are you absolutely certain of this, Carex? Could it not be some natural phenomenon we've misinterpreted?" Carex shook his head. "The energy signature is unmistakable, Supreme Leader. It matches theoretical models for FTL travel that our own scientists have developed. Somehow, the humans have achieved in decades what took us centuries." As the reality of the situation sank in, panic began to spread through the council chamber. The cosmic joke had suddenly become a potential threat. Humanity, it seemed, was no longer content to be the punchline in Zarkonian comedy routines. "We must prepare," Vexlor declared, his voice carrying the weight of command. "If the humans have mastered faster-than-light travel, it's only a matter of time before they venture beyond their solar system. And when they do, we must be ready to face them, not as primitives, but as equals." The human breakthrough. On Earth, blissfully unaware of the panic they had caused in a distant alien civilization, humanity was celebrating its greatest achievement yet. In a secret facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a team of scientists and engineers had just successfully activated the world's first faster-than-light drive. Dr. Samantha Chen, the project's lead physicist, stood before a bank of monitors, her eyes wide with excitement and disbelief. "It worked," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of machinery. "It actually worked." Her colleague, Dr. Marcus Williams, let out a whoop of joy, pumping his fist in the air. "We did it, Sam. We've just changed the course of human history." The rest of the team erupted in cheers, hugs, and tears of joy. Years of tireless work, countless failures, and relentless determination had finally paid off. Humanity was no longer bound by the vast distances of space. As news of the breakthrough spread, world leaders convened an emergency summit to discuss the implications. In a secure conference room in Geneva, representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to chart the course of humanity's future among the stars. President Elena Rodriguez of the United Earth Alliance addressed the assembly, her voice filled with gravitas. "Ladies and gentlemen, we stand at the threshold of a new era. The development of faster-than-light travel has opened up possibilities we could only dream of just days ago. But with this great power comes great responsibility." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We must approach this new frontier with caution, wisdom, and above all, unity. The challenges and potential threats we may face out there are unknown. We cannot afford to carry our old conflicts and divisions into the stars." The assembly murmured in agreement. For once, petty national interests seemed insignificant in the face of humanity's cosmic destiny. Dr. Chen and Dr. Williams were invited to brief the world leaders on the technical aspects of their breakthrough. As they explained the intricacies of warping spacetime and harnessing dark energy, even the most scientifically challenged politicians listened in rapt attention. "The drive works by creating a bubble of warped spacetime around the ship," Dr. Chen explained. "Inside this bubble, the ship remains stationary. It's the space around us that moves, allowing us to effectively travel faster than light without violating the laws of physics as we understand them." Dr. Williams added, "We've successfully tested the drive on unmanned probes. The results have been, well, beyond our wildest expectations. We've sent probes to the edge of our solar system and back in a matter of hours." The assembly buzzed with excitement and apprehension. The ability to explore beyond their solar system was thrilling, but it also raised concerns about what, or who, they might encounter out there. What about other intelligent life? asked the representative from Nigeria. "Have we detected any signs of alien civilizations?" Dr. Chen and Dr. Williams exchanged glances. "Not yet," Dr. Chen replied carefully. "But given the vastness of the universe and our new ability to explore it, it seems almost certain that we'll encounter other civilizations sooner or later." As the summit continued, plans were made for humanity's first steps into interstellar space. A fleet of exploration vessels would be constructed, combining the new FTL drive with the best defensive and scientific technologies Earth had to offer. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, construction began on Unity Station, a massive space dock that would serve as the launching point for humanity's interstellar missions. As the station took shape, it became a symbol of human ingenuity and cooperation, with modules and components contributed by nations from around the world. Recruitment and training programs were established to prepare the first wave of interstellar explorers. The best and brightest from every field, scientists, engineers, diplomats, and soldiers, volunteered for the chance to be among the first humans to venture beyond their solar system. Among them was Captain Jane Foster, a decorated Air Force pilot with a PhD in astrophysics. As she stood in line to submit her application, she felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. "This is it," she thought to herself. "This is what I've been preparing for my entire life." Little did Jane know that her name would soon be etched in the annals of human history, alongside the great explorers of ages past. As months passed, the first of the new interstellar ships neared completion. The UES Odyssey, a sleek vessel bristling with sensors and defensive systems, represented the pinnacle of human technological achievement. Its mission: to make humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. On the day of the Odyssey's christening, millions around the world watched as the ship was unveiled. Its hull gleamed in the sunlight, the words "Ad Astra per Aspera," to the stars through difficulties, emblazoned on its side in bold letters. President Rodriguez stood before a podium, addressing not just the crowd before her, but the entire human race. "Today, we take our first true step into the cosmic ocean," she declared. "We go forward not in the name of any one nation or ideology, but as representatives of all humanity. We carry with us the hopes, dreams, and indomitable spirit of our species." As the ceremony concluded, Captain Foster and her crew boarded the Odyssey. The ship's engines hummed to life, and with a flash of energy, it disappeared from view, leaving behind only a ripple in the fabric of space-time. Unbeknownst to the cheering humans, their jubilant energy signature had already been detected by the panicking Zarkonians. Two great civilizations were now on a collision course, and the galaxy would never be the same. Back in the Zarkonian Empire, Supreme Leader Vexlor paced anxiously in his private chambers. The initial shock of the human breakthrough had given way to a grim determination to prepare for the inevitable encounter. "To think," he muttered to himself, "that those creatures we mocked for so long might now pose a genuine threat to our dominion." He paused, staring out at the glittering expanse of his capital city. Or perhaps an opportunity for a new alliance. As the Odyssey streaked through the stars, carrying humanity's hopes and dreams, the stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the galaxy. The cosmic joke had become deadly serious, and no one, human or Zarkonian, could predict how it would end. First contact. The UES Odyssey cruised through the void, its FTL drive humming softly as it carried humanity's first interstellar expedition deeper into the unknown. Captain Jane Foster sat in her command chair, her eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of warped space-time visible through the ship's main viewport. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Her first officer, Commander Akira Tanaka, responded promptly. "All systems nominal, Captain. We've traveled approximately 50 light-years from Earth in the past week. No signs of any artificial structures or transmissions yet." Jane nodded, a mix of relief and disappointment washing over her. Part of her had hoped they'd encounter signs of alien life immediately, but she knew the vastness of space made that unlikely. Still, every star system they passed without incident increased the tension aboard the ship. As the days turned into weeks, the crew of the Odyssey settled into a routine of constant vigilance and scientific observation. They catalogued new planets, studied unusual stellar phenomena, and constantly refined their long-range scanning techniques. It was during one of these routine scans that everything changed. Captain, the sensor officer, Lieutenant Maria Vasquez, called out suddenly, "I'm picking up an anomalous energy signature. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Jane was at the sensor station in an instant, peering over Maria's shoulder at the readouts. "Can you pinpoint the source?" Maria's fingers flew over her console. "It's coming from a star system about 2 light-years from our current position. The energy output is massive, far beyond anything natural we've encountered." Jane's heart raced. This could be it, the moment they'd all been waiting for. "Helm, set a course for the source of that signal. All hands, this is not a drill. Prepare for potential first contact scenario." As the Odyssey changed course, Jane retreated to her ready room to prepare. She stared at her reflection in the small mirror above her desk, taking deep breaths to calm her nerves. "You can do this," she told herself. "You've trained for this moment your entire life." Meanwhile, in the Zarkonian Empire, alarms blared across every monitoring station. Supreme Leader Vexilor burst into the Central Command Center, his feathers bristling with agitation. "Report," he barked. A trembling technician responded. "Supreme Leader, we've detected a vessel of unknown origin approaching the Nexus. Its energy signature matches the one we observed from Earth." Vexilor's eyes widened. "The humans," he breathed. "They're here already." He turned to his advisors. "How did they find the Nexus so quickly? It's supposed to be hidden." Carex, who had been promoted to chief scientist following his prescient warnings about human advancement, stepped forward. "Supreme Leader, it appears the human scanning technology is more advanced than we anticipated. They likely detected the energy output from the Nexus." Vexilor cursed under his breath. The Nexus, a massive space station that served as the hub of Zarkonian FTL travel, was supposed to be their most closely guarded secret, its existence hidden from lesser races by advanced cloaking technology. But somehow, the humans had found it. "We cannot allow them to reach the Nexus," Vexilor declared. "Dispatch the defense fleet immediately. Intercept that ship before it gets any closer." As the Zarkonian warships streaked towards the approaching human vessel, tensions ran high on both sides. The Odyssey's sensors quickly picked up the incoming fleet, sending the human crew into a frenzy of activity. Multiple contacts approaching at high speed, Commander Tanaka reported, his voice tense. "Their technology is unlike anything in our database, definitely alien in origin." Captain Foster's mind raced. This was the moment of truth. How she handled the next few minutes could determine the course of human history. "Open a channel," she ordered. "All frequencies, all languages. Let's hope they can understand us." As the Zarkonian fleet closed in, they received an unexpected transmission. The voice of Captain Jane Foster echoed through their command centers, translated by their advanced linguistics computers. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Jane Foster of the UES Odyssey. We come from Earth as peaceful explorers, seeking to make contact with other intelligent life in the universe. We mean you no harm and request peaceful communication." The Zarkonian fleet commanders were taken aback. They had expected aggression, not a plea for peace. Supreme Leader Vexilor, listening to the transmission from his command center, found himself conflicted. The humans' actions didn't match the primitive, warlike species they had observed for so long. After a moment of tense silence, Vexilor made a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. "Respond to their hail," he ordered. "But be cautious. This could still be a trick." Back on the Odyssey, the crew held their breath as they waited for a response. When it came, The alien voice was unlike anything they had ever heard, a melodious trill that their universal translators struggled to interpret. Human vessel, this is Fleet Commander Zex of the Zarkonian Empire. Your presence here is unexpected and potentially threatening. State your intentions clearly, or we will be forced to take defensive action. Captain Foster exchanged glances with her crew. This was it, humanity's first exchange with an alien civilization. Her next words could lead to peace or war, understanding or conflict. With a deep breath, she began to speak, hoping that her words would bridge the vast gulf between their species and open a new chapter in the history of both their peoples. As the delicate dance of first contact unfolded, both humans and Zarkonians found themselves reevaluating long-held beliefs and assumptions. The cosmic joke that had once amused the Zarkonians now seemed like a distant memory as they faced the reality of a human civilization far more advanced and peaceful than they had ever imagined. The fate of both species now hung in the balance, with the vast expanse of space as their witness. The diplomatic dance. Captain Jane Foster took a deep breath, her words carefully chosen. Fleet Commander Zex, we appreciate your caution. Our intention is simple, to establish peaceful contact and foster understanding between our civilizations. We detected an unusual energy signature in this region and came to investigate. We had no idea we would encounter another spacefaring species so soon in our journey. There was a pause as the Zarkonians processed this information. Then Fleet Commander Zex's voice came through again, a note of curiosity evident even through the translator. You claim to be on a journey of exploration, yet your technology seems remarkably advanced for a species we believe to be in its infancy. How is this possible? Jane exchanged glances with her crew. The Zarkonians had been observing Earth. For how long? She decided honesty was the best approach. Our progress has been rapid, especially in recent decades. The development of our FTL drive was a breakthrough that allowed us to venture into interstellar space. We're eager to learn and grow, to understand the universe and our place in it. On the Zarkonian command ship, Fleet Commander Zex turned to his advisors. Their words seem sincere, but can we trust them? He asked. Carex, who had joined the fleet as a scientific advisor, stepped forward. Commander, if I may. The humans' rapid advancement, while surprising, is consistent with the patterns we've observed. They've always been quick to adapt and innovate. Perhaps we should give them a chance to prove their peaceful intentions. Meanwhile, Supreme Leader Vexilor watched the exchange from the capital, his mind racing. The humans' unexpected appearance had thrown all their plans into disarray, but it also presented an unprecedented opportunity. Zex, he communicated to his fleet commander, invite the human captain to a face-to-face meeting. We need to assess them more closely. Back on the Odyssey, Jane received the surprising invitation. Captain Foster, Zex's voice came through. In the interest of fostering understanding between our species, we invite you and a small delegation to board our command ship for direct talks. Do you accept? Jane's heart raced. This was more than she could have hoped for. We would be honored. Fleet Commander, please provide docking instructions, and we'll prepare a delegation immediately. As Jane selected her team, herself, Commander Tanaka, Dr. Chen, who had insisted on joining the mission, and a security officer, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were about to become the first humans to set foot on an alien spacecraft. The shuttle ride from the Odyssey to the Zarkonian command ship was tense. As they approached, the true scale of the alien vessel became apparent. It dwarfed the Odyssey, its sleek design unlike anything in human engineering. My God, Dr. Chen whispered as they entered the docking bay. Look at the precision of their technology. The materials. I can't even begin to guess what they're made of. As the airlock cycled and the doors opened, the human delegation found themselves face to face with their Zarkonian hosts. The aliens were tall, avian in appearance, with iridescent feathers and sharp, intelligent eyes. Fleet Commander Zex stepped forward, his crest raised in what the humans hoped was a gesture of welcome. Captain Foster, Zex trilled, the words translated by the devices both species carried. Welcome aboard the Stellar Meridian. We are curious to learn more about you and your people. Jane nodded, fighting to keep her composure in the face of this momentous encounter. Thank you, Fleet Commander. We're honored to be here and eager to engage in peaceful dialogue. As they were led to a conference room, Jane couldn't help but notice the mix of emotions on the faces, if you could call them that, of the Zarkonians they passed. Some looked curious, others wary, and a few seemed almost embarrassed. In the conference room, holographic displays came to life, showing images of Earth and human history. Jane realized with a start that the Zarkonians had been studying humanity for quite some time. We have observed your world for many of your years, Zex explained, confirming Jane's suspicion. We watched as you developed from a primitive agricultural society to a spacefaring race in what, to us, seemed like the blink of an eye. Dr. Chen leaned forward, fascinated. You've been studying us. For how long? And why didn't you make contact earlier? A ripple of discomfort passed through the Zarkonian delegation. Carex, who had joined them, stepped forward. To be frank, we underestimated you. Our initial observations led us to believe that your species was too focused on trivial matters to achieve significant technological progress. We expected it would take you millennia to reach the stars, if you managed it at all. Jane felt a mix of indignation and pride. I see, she said carefully. And now that we're here, what are your intentions towards us and our world? Zex and Carex exchanged glances. That, Zex said slowly, is what we hope to determine through these talks. Your arrival has forced us to reconsider many of our assumptions. We find ourselves in uncharted territory, diplomatically speaking. As the discussions continued, both sides shared information about their histories, cultures, and technologies. The humans were amazed by the Zarkonians' advanced sciences, while the Zarkonians were impressed by humanity's rapid progress and adaptability. However, tensions remained. The Zarkonians were clearly concerned about the potential threat a rapidly advancing human civilization might pose, while the humans worried about the Zarkonians' long-term intentions, given their history of covert observation. As the initial meeting drew to a close, Fleet Commander Zex made an unexpected proposal. Captain Foster, we would like to invite a human delegation to our homeworld, Zarkon Prime. Our leaders believe that fostering direct cultural exchange may be the best path forward for our species. Jane was stunned by the offer. This was far beyond anything she had anticipated when the Odyssey first set out. We would be deeply honored, Fleet Commander. However, I would need to consult with my superiors back on Earth before accepting such a significant invitation. Zex nodded in understanding. Of course, we will provide you with coordinates for long-range communication with your homeworld. We await your decision. As the human delegation returned to the Odyssey, their minds reeled with the implications of what had just transpired. They had not only made first contact, but were now on the brink of visiting an alien homeworld. Meanwhile, in the depths of Zarkonian space, Supreme Leader Vexlor contemplated the reports from the meeting. The humans had proven to be far more than the punchline of a cosmic joke. They were a force to be reckoned with, a potential threat, but also a possible ally. As both civilizations prepared for the next phase of their encounter, the fate of two species, and perhaps the entire galaxy hung in the balance. The cosmic joke had evolved into a high-stakes game of interstellar diplomacy, with the resilience and ingenuity of humanity pitted against the ancient wisdom and technology of the Zarkonian Empire. The Homeworld Revelation. The UES Odyssey hung in space, a testament to human ingenuity against the backdrop of alien stars. Inside, Captain Jane Foster paced the bridge, waiting for the encrypted transmission from Earth. The ship's long-range communications array, pushed to its limits, crackled with static as it reached across the vast distance to humanity's homeworld. Finally, the holographic display flickered to life, revealing the stern face of Admiral Helena Reyes, head of the United Earth Alliance's newly formed Interstellar Relations Committee. Captain Foster, she began, her voice tight with tension. Your report has caused quite a stir back home. An alien civilization that's been watching us for centuries. It's almost too much to believe. Jane nodded, understanding the Admiral's skepticism. I know it sounds incredible, Admiral, but I assure you, it's all true. The Zarkonians are real. And they're not quite what we expected from our first alien encounter. Admiral Rice leaned back in her chair, her brow furrowed. And now they've invited us to their homeworld. The question is, can we trust them? Honestly, Admiral, I'm not sure, Jane replied. But I believe this opportunity is too important to pass up. The scientific and diplomatic potential alone is staggering. After a moment of contemplation, Admiral Rice nodded. Very well, Captain. You have authorization to accept the Zarkonians' invitation. But proceed with extreme caution. We're sending a support fleet your way, but it'll take time to reach you. Until then, you're on your own. As the transmission ended, Jane turned to her crew. Well, folks, it looks like we're going to Zarkon Prime. Let's make humanity proud. The journey to the Zarkonian homeworld was a tense affair. Despite assurances of peace, the Odyssey remained on high alert, its sensors constantly scanning for any sign of threat. The Zarkonian escort ships maintained a respectful distance, but their presence was a constant reminder of the power imbalance between the two civilizations. As they approached Zarkon Prime, the crew of the Odyssey gasped in collective awe. The planet was a jewel of blue and green, much like Earth, but its continents formed intricate, almost geometric patterns that hinted at eons of guided evolution. Orbiting the planet was a vast network of satellites and space stations, far more advanced than anything humanity had achieved. It's beautiful, Dr. Chen whispered, her eyes wide as she studied the sensor readings. The level of technology required to shape an entire planet like this, it's beyond anything we've ever imagined. As the Odyssey entered orbit, a transmission came through from the surface. Supreme Leader Vexlor himself appeared on the view screen, his iridescent feathers shimmering in the light of Zarkon's twin suns. Captain Foster, he trilled, on behalf of the Zarkonian people, I welcome you to our homeworld. We are eager to begin our cultural exchange. The landing ceremony was a spectacle unlike anything the human delegation had ever experienced. As they descended in a Zarkonian shuttle, they were greeted by massive floating platforms covered in cheering crowds. The Zarkonians, it seemed, were just as curious about humans as humans were about them. Supreme Leader Vexlor met them on the landing pad, flanked by an honor guard of brilliantly plumed warriors. Captain Foster, he said, extending a feathered hand in what appeared to be an approximation of a human handshake. Welcome to Zarkon Prime. As Jane took his hand, she couldn't help but feel a sense of surreality. Here she was, shaking hands with the leader of an alien civilization on a planet light years from Earth. It was a moment that would be etched in human history forever. The next few days were a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, cultural exchanges, and scientific demonstrations. The humans were in awe of Zarkonian technology, from their matter replicators to their gravity manipulation devices. But as they delved deeper into Zarkonian society, they began to notice something strange. It was Dr. Chen who first voiced what they had all been thinking. During a private moment in their quarters, she turned to Jane with a puzzled expression. Captain, have you noticed how static everything seems here? For a civilization so advanced, there's a surprising lack of ongoing research or innovation. Jane nodded slowly. She had noticed it too. The Zarkonians seemed content to rest on their technological laurels, showing off inventions that were centuries or even millennia old. It's as if they reached a certain point and just stopped, she mused. Their suspicions were confirmed during a state dinner on the third night of their visit. As Jane sat next to Supreme Leader Vexlor, she decided to broach the subject directly. Your Excellency, she began carefully, we've been amazed by your technological achievements. But I'm curious, What new frontiers is Zarkonian science currently exploring? Vexler's feathers ruffled slightly. A gesture Jane had learned indicated discomfort. New frontiers, he repeated, as if the concept was foreign to him. Captain Foster, we have achieved a level of technological perfection that has served us well for millennia. Why would we need to explore new frontiers? Jane was taken aback by the response. But surely there's always more to learn, more to discover. Vexler's eyes narrowed slightly. Your human drive for constant change and innovation is puzzling to us. We have found balance, perfection. Why risk destabilizing that? As the conversation continued, a realization began to dawn on Jane and her team. The Zarkonians, for all their advanced technology, had become stagnant. Their society, once dynamic and innovative, had calcified into a rigid, unchanging structure. Later that night, as the human delegation gathered in their quarters to discuss the day's events, Commander Tanaka summed up what they were all thinking. It's ironic, he said with a wry smile. They mocked us for our perceived backwardness. But in the end, it's our drive to constantly improve and adapt that's given us an edge. Jane nodded, her mind racing with the implications. The question is, what do we do with this knowledge? The Zarkonians are still far more advanced than us in many ways, but their stagnation could be a serious weakness. As they debated their next move, none of them realized that their conversation was being monitored. In his private chambers, Supreme Leader Vexler listened to the humans' discussion, his feathers bristling with a mixture of anger and fear. The humans had seen through the facade of Zarkonian superiority, and in doing so, had unknowingly shifted the balance of power in the galaxy. Vexler turned to his most trusted advisor, his voice low and dangerous. These humans are more perceptive than we anticipated. Their drive for innovation, their adaptability, it could make them a greater threat than we ever imagined. The advisor nodded gravely. What are your orders, Supreme Leader? Vexler's eyes narrowed as he came to a decision that would alter the course of both civilizations. Prepare the fleet, he hissed. It's time we reminded these upstart humans of their place in the cosmic order. As the humans slept, unaware of the gathering storm, the Zarkonian war machine slowly creaked to life. The cosmic joke had taken a dark turn, and the laughter had faded into the ominous silence before a galactic conflict. The gathering storm. Dawn broke over the crystalline spires of the Zarkonian capital, painting the sky in hues of lavender and gold. But the beauty of the alien world was lost on Captain Jane Foster as she stared out the window of the diplomatic quarters, a sense of unease gnawing at her gut. Something had changed in the atmosphere of their visit, a subtle shift in the demeanor of their Zarkonian hosts that set her nerves on edge. Captain, Commander Tanaka's voice cut through her reverie. We've got a problem. Jane turned to face her first officer, noting the concern etched on his features. What is it, Akira? Our communication with the Odyssey has been cut off, he reported, his voice tight. And the Zarkonian staff that was assigned to us, they're gone. The whole building seems deserted. Jane's mind raced through the implications. This isn't good. Dr. Chen, what's the status of our personal communication devices? The scientist fiddled with her wrist-mounted computer, her brow furrowed in concentration. They're being jammed, Captain. I can't get a signal out. We're isolated and cut off, Jane summarized grimly. This has all the hallmarks of a prelude to hostile action. We need to find a way to warn Earth and the Odyssey. As the human delegation hurriedly discussed their options, a low rumble began to reverberate through the building. The floor trembled beneath their feet, and a distant roar filled the air. What the hell is that? Lieutenant Rodriguez, their security officer, asked as he moved to the window. The sight that greeted them sent a chill down their spines. Rising into the sky were hundreds, perhaps thousands, of Zarkonian warships. Their sleek, predatory forms blotted out the sun as they ascended, their engines painting the sky with streaks of blue fire. My God, Dr. Chen whispered. They're mobilizing their entire fleet. But why? Against whom? Jane's face hardened as the realization hit her. Against us. Earth. They see us as a threat now. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship of the Zarkonian Armada, Supreme Leader Vexlor stood on the bridge, his feathers shimmering with barely contained excitement. The human's perception of Zarkonian stagnation had wounded his pride, but it had also awakened something long dormant in his people, a drive to prove their superiority. Status report, he barked to his command staff. Fleet Admiral Zex, newly promoted for this crucial mission, responded promptly. The fleet is assembled, Supreme Leader. All ships report ready for the jump to the human home system. Vexlor nodded, satisfaction evident in his bearing. Excellent. The humans think us stagnant, complacent. We will show them the true might of the Zarkonian Empire. Set course for Earth. It's time we put these upstarts in their place. As the Zarkonian fleet prepared to depart, alarms blared across the UES Odyssey. Lieutenant Commander Maya Rodriguez, left in command while the captain was planetside, stared in disbelief at the sensor readings. "Ma'am," one of the bridge officers called out, panic evident in his voice, "we're detecting a massive power surge from the planet. It looks like they're powering up some kind of superweapon." Maya's mind raced. They were vastly outgunned, with no way to contact Earth for reinforcements. But they couldn't abandon the captain and the rest of the away team. "Battle stations," she ordered. "Prepare for emergency extraction of our people on the surface, and get ready to transmit a warning to Earth. Maximum encryption." On the planet's surface, Jane and her team had managed to sneak out of the diplomatic compound, using their wits and Rodriguez's security training to evade Zarkonian patrols. They made their way through the eerily empty streets of the capital, heading for what they hoped was a communication center. "If we can just get a message out," Jane muttered as they crouched behind a shimmering force field generator. "Maybe we can warn Earth, give them time to prepare." But as they rounded a corner, they found themselves face to face with a squad of Zarkonian soldiers, their weapons trained on the humans. "Surrender, primitives," the squad leader trilled, his feathers bristling aggressively. "Your feeble attempt at escape ends here." Jane raised her hand slowly, her mind working furiously to find a way out of this predicament. But before she could speak, the ground shook violently, nearly knocking them all off their feet. In the sky above, a massive tear in space-time opened up. A wormhole, far larger and more stable than anything humanity had ever achieved. The Zarkonian fleet began to pour through, thousands of ships disappearing into the swirling vortex. "No," Jane breathed, realizing the implications. "They're heading for Earth." Back on the Odyssey, Maya watched in horror as the wormhole engulfed the Zarkonian ships. "Send the warning now," she shouted, "and plot an intercept course. We can't let them reach Earth uncontested." As the Odyssey's engines flared to life, preparing to plunge into the wormhole in pursuit of the Zarkonian fleet, Maya couldn't help but feel a sense of grim irony. Humanity had reached for the stars, hoping to find friendship and knowledge. Instead, they had stumbled into an interstellar war with a technologically superior enemy. But if the Zarkonians thought that humanity would go quietly into the night, they were sorely mistaken. The species they had once mocked as primitive was about to show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of when pushed to the brink. As the Odyssey disappeared into the wormhole, the fate of two civilizations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The cosmic joke had evolved into a deadly serious game of survival, with humanity fighting not just for its place among the stars, but for its very existence. Humanity's stand. The wormhole spat out the UES Odyssey into the inky blackness of space, the ship's hull groaning under the stress of the transition. On the bridge, Lieutenant Commander Maya Rodriguez gripped her chair, her eyes wide, as she took in the scene before her. The Zarkonian fleet stretched as far as the eye could see, a vast armada of sleek, deadly vessels converging on a single point in space. Earth, the blue marble of humanity's homeworld, hung in the distance, blissfully unaware of the approaching storm. Status report. Maya barked, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her gut. We've emerged on the outskirts of the Sol system, her tactical officer responded. The Zarkonian fleet is approximately 30 minutes from Earth orbit. Our warning message, it's been received, but Earth's defenses are still mobilizing. Maya's mind raced. They were hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned, but they couldn't just stand by and watch their home be destroyed. Hail the Zarkonian flagship, she ordered. Let's see if we can buy some time. Meanwhile, on Zarkon Prime, Captain Jane Foster and her team were being marched through the ornate halls of the Imperial Palace. Despite their predicament, Jane's mind was working overtime, analyzing every detail of their surroundings. Look at the dust, she whispered to Dr. Chen. The lack of wear on these floors. It's like they hardly use this place. Dr. Chen nodded subtly. Their entire civilization seems to be on autopilot. All this technology, but no drive to use it, to improve it. As they were brought before a holo-projection of Supreme Leader Vexlor, Jane's suspicions crystallized into a daring plan. Ah, the human delegation, Vexlor's image sneered, witnessing the fall of your civilization from afar. How does it feel to know your species' brief moment in the stars is about to end? Jane stepped forward, her chin held high. Supreme Leader, you're making a mistake. You think you're proving your superiority, but you're only exposing your greatest weakness. Vexlor's feathers ruffled in agitation. Weakness. We have technology beyond your wildest dreams. Our fleet will crush your pitiful defenses. Maybe, Jane conceded. But then what? You'll have expended massive resources, disrupted your stagnant society, all to destroy a primitive species. And for what? To feel superior for a moment before settling back into your comfortable rut. Her words struck a chord. Murmurs of discomfort rippled through the Zarkonian officials present. You fear us, Jane pressed on, not because of our technology, but because of our potential. We adapt, we innovate, we strive to improve. Can you say the same? Back in Earth's orbit, the Zarkonian fleet had engaged the hastily assembled Earth Defense Force. The space around the blue planet erupted in a dazzling, terrifying light show of weapons fire and explosions. The UES Odyssey darted between the massive Zarkonian ships, its smaller size, and the crew's innovative tactics allowing it to punch above its weight. But it wasn't enough. Earth's defenses were crumbling under the onslaught. In a desperate gambit, Maya ordered the Odyssey to target the Zarkonian flagship's main reactor. If we can take out their command and control, maybe the rest of the fleet will fall into disarray, she reasoned. As the Odyssey maneuvered into position, alarms blared across the ship. Mom, the tactical officer shouted. We're detecting a massive energy buildup in the flagship. It's like nothing we've ever seen. On the flagship's bridge, Supreme Leader Vexlor watched the battle with growing frustration. The humans were proving more resilient than anticipated. Enough of this, he snarled. Prepare the stellar obliterator. We'll end this farce once and for all. But as the doomsday weapon powered up, something unexpected happened. Across the Zarkonian fleet, ships began to drop out of formation, their weapons powering down. What is the meaning of this? Vexlor raged. I order you to fire. We will not, came a familiar voice. Fleet Admiral Zex's hologram appeared on the bridge. Supreme Leader, the human captain's words have spread through our ranks. Many of us now see the truth. Our empire has become a monument to stagnation. This war is not the way forward. As more and more Zarkonian ships stood down, the tide of the battle turned. The remaining Earth forces, led by the indomitable Odyssey, pressed their advantage. In a final, desperate act, Vexlor attempted to launch the stellar obliterator himself. But the weapon, long dormant and poorly maintained, malfunctioned spectacularly. The resulting explosion consumed the flagship, taking the Supreme Leader with it. In the aftermath of the battle, as the dust settled and the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, representatives from Earth, and the reformed Zarkonian Empire met aboard the UES Odyssey. Captain Jane Foster, reunited with her ship and crew, stood proud as she addressed the assembled delegates. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," she began. "We've seen the dangers of both unchecked aggression and stagnant complacency, but we've also witnessed the power of adaptation, innovation, and cooperation." The Zarkonian ambassador, his feathers shimmering with a newfound vigor, nodded in agreement. "The humans have taught us a valuable lesson. Our empire grew complacent in our perceived superiority. But now we have a chance to grow, to evolve alongside our new allies." As the delegates hammered out the details of a historic peace treaty and cultural exchange program, Dr. Chen approached Captain Foster with a twinkle in her eye. "You know, Captain," she mused, "in a way, we should thank the Zarkonians for underestimating us all those years ago." Jane raised an eyebrow. "Oh, how so?" Dr. Chen grinned. "Well, their mockery of our primitive ways, our obsession with things like shoes. It drove us to prove ourselves, to reach for the stars and beyond. In trying to keep us down, they inadvertently pushed us to greatness." Jane chuckled, shaking her head in amazement. "I suppose you're right. The cosmic joke turned out to have quite the punchline, didn't it?" As the Odyssey cruised through the starry expanse, Earth and Zarkon Prime visible as distant points of light, Jane couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder and anticipation. The galaxy had thrown humanity its greatest challenge, and they had risen to meet it. Now, with new allies and a universe of possibilities before them, the true adventure was just beginning. The stars twinkled in the viewport, each one a promise of new discoveries, new challenges, and new jokes to share across the cosmos. Humanity had not only secured its place among the stars, but had also taught an ancient civilization the value of growth and change. The cosmic joke had transformed into a cosmic lesson, one that would resonate through the galaxy for eons to come.